What's latest score, Chris?
I haven't looked. It was about 190 for 6 or something like that.
I'm watching it.
But I haven't looked.
2 and 4 for 5. 205 for 4.
Okay.
Sorry, Dave.
It's okay.
We're both watching it. Forget
Good
it.
to see good to see mowing in the wickets again.
Yeah.
We've kept the rate down because they were talking about a 300 plus innings. There are 10 overs left. They can still do it.
Yeah.
But the run rate is currently 5.08, and they'd want it to be much higher than that.
No crowd, I notice.
Do you pronounce their ground Poon or Pune?
Pune.
I've heard two commentators call it both. Pune.
Pune.
I just thought Pune.
Pune.
Yes.
I heard somebody yesterday on Sky Sports call it Pune.
Well, there's Sky for you. Time you had a transfer, lol. BBC. Billings took a bad fall on the boundary, injured his shoulder.
Yeah.
Roy's been playing out of his skin in the field. Needs to, because he's not batting very well, is he?
No.
So who's batting?
India.
Right.
And they've just taken the 5th wicket. Stokes to first.
Took another.
Hardick out for one.
Sounds like a toilet cleaner, doesn't he?
Say again?
Sounds like a toilet cleaner, Hardick.
Hardick.
That's Hardick, isn't it?
Yeah.
Keith, I might
Coley's been accusing the English team of trying to influence the umpires.
Yes.
Coley!
He's got a nerve,
Yes.
that man.
Hasn't he?
Paul the Biscuit.
Sorry, Keith, I might have to leave at about 11:30. The battery's flat on my car and AA are coming out. They said they'll be here by 11:30.
Okay.
Good luck.
No, invite him into Zoom.
I thought AA batteries were good.
They need triple A, Paul.
Oh,
This is the second one that's gone on me during lockdown. So
really?
this one might be going back.
Going viral, isn't it?
I got a cheapie from the AA, cheapie battery. Didn't last longer than 12 months.
No, this was from a dealer. So it might just be that it's flat. It might be chargeable. Just haven't been driving the car very much.
Yeah, it's too easy. And with the winter months, it just canes the battery.
Yeah. Anyway,
Right.
we'll see.
Let's get into it then, chaps. A couple of weeks ago, John and Chris, between them, came up with an idea about sports films. So, John, would you like to kick off proceedings?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we've done sports films quizzes before at the libraries, but never done anything on a Zoom. I don't think. But Chris and I were exchanging emails a few weeks ago, and Chris had got the idea of talking about one of our favourite sports films, and with probably an actual, featuring actual sportsmen, a biopic, something like that. And there are many to go at. And we thought that might generate some conversation, first about the film and then about the individual sportsmen. So Keith asked me if I'd go first. So what I intend doing is not necessarily my favourite film, but there are many to choose from. It's certainly a start. I'll give a brief background about the film and then about the sportsman himself. But during this, please interject with your own memories, your own comments about the film or the actors, and then about the sportsman, if you would, please. So the film I almost randomly chose first was Gentleman Jim, which you may remember, starred Errol Flynn. It's a 1942 film. There was Errol Flynn as heavyweight champion James J Corbett, and supporting cast includes Alexis Smith, Jack Carson, Alan Hale, who was always in Errol Flynn films, as you remember, and William Frawley. If you can remember William Frawley, he played the landlord of Lucy in I Love Lucy. He was a short, bald bloke. Yeah, so William Frawley was in it, I think, as a boxing manager. And of course, Ward Bond. Yeah, as John L. Sullivan. I mean, the movie was based upon Corbett's 1894 autobiography, The Roar of the Crowd, and directed by Raoul Walsh. So we're talking 1942 here, when we were all youngsters. Or just thoughts. Yeah. And the plot is that in 1890 San Francisco, boxing is illegal. James J. Corbett, Errol Flynn, a brash young bank teller, attends a match with his friend Walter Lowry. When a police raid nets Judge Geary, a member of the board of directors of Corbett's bank. Corbett's fast talking gets his superior out of trouble. The judge is looking to improve the image of boxing by recruiting men from more respectable backgrounds and having them fight under the Marquis of Queensberry rules. Not under the Marquis of Queensberry, by the way. He has even imported British coach Harry Watson to evaluate prospects. Watson finds that Corbett, raised in a combative Irish immigrant family headed by Pat Corbett, Alan Hale, has excellent fighting skills. Geary likes his protege's seemingly polished manner. If you remember at the beginning of the film, I think at the end of the film, there's a line: the Corbetts are at it again. The Corbetts are fighting again. The Corbett family were always fighting each other. Corbett's arrogance irritates many of the upper class, including Alexis Smith. They clash frequently, but Corbett is attracted to her. I know wouldn't be attracted to Errol Flynn. Eh, Keith, eh? And his limitless self-confidence and charm eventually overcome her distaste for him. Meanwhile, Corbett becomes a professional prize fighter. He acquires a manager, who was William Frawley, and introduces a new, more sophisticated style of boxing, emphasising footwork over the unscientific brawling epitomised by world champion John L. Sullivan. I can lick any man in the world, he used to say when he went into Tesco's, yeah. After winning several matches, Corbett finally gets the opportunity to take on the great man. Corbett's method of boxing baffles Sullivan, and Corbett wins not only the title, but also Victoria. Any of you remember that film? Any of you seen it?
Yeah.
Very much.
I've seen it. I can't remember it much.
Yeah.
No.
Black and white film.
Yeah.
Very,
Black and white, yeah. Yeah. Have you got any memories of it, Chris?
Well, I think you've summarised it very well. It's in that era where Errol Flynn was the leading man of leading men.
Oh, yeah.
He played the part from memory, played it very well. He was in every scene. I mean, he carried every film. Yeah. And I don't know how near it is to the real life story portrayed in the autobiography, but it came over as pretty accurate. But John, I don't know whether it contains inaccuracies. Sometimes
I'm sure it does. I mean,
it must do. But I think it carries the essence of what the era was about. Yeah,
I think that was a good thing about Warner Brothers films. They were sentimental. Yeah. I always grew up believing that they were true. These were true. That they died with their boots on. That really happened with Errol Flynn standing in the middle of the circle, last man standing. And
of course it did.
Yeah, you grew up wanting to believe that was true. Well, later on in life, you find out that life's not like that, and Custer was a prat, and things like that.
Robin Hood was real.
But yeah. Films like this really inspired me. There's lots of sporting films on at the time. This is one that sticks out in my memory. And I took more of an interest in boxing, not that I've been a big boxing fan, but as a result of this. Just a bit of a background to it. It says Flynn was very keen to make the movie and undertook extensive boxing training, working with Buster Wiles and Mushy Callahan. However, when the US officially entered World War II, it was decided to postpone the movie so Flynn could be rushed into Desperate Journey. While he did this, Horace McCoy rewrote the script. Vincent Lawrence then wrote some drafts, and Robert Buckner was assigned to produce. There was some doubt the film would even be made if Flynn enlisted in the army, but they rejected his application on the grounds of ill health. That means cirrhosis of the liver.
No, he had
probably.
Had a lot
He
of
did,
issues.
yeah.
Yeah, a
Filming
lot of
began in
issues.
May 1942. Says, in his somewhat unreliable 1959 autobiography, My Wicked, Wicked Ways. Any of you read that?
Yeah.
It's a good read. Good read, isn't it? Yeah. Flynn details how he suffered a mild heart attack while making this movie. He collapsed on set on 15th of July 1942 while filming a boxing scene with Ward Bond. Great actor, Ward Bond.
Yeah.
Great character actor. Filming had to be shut down while he recovered. He returned a week later. Said Flynn took the role seriously and was rarely doubled during the boxing sequences. Alexis Smith recounted in her biography, The Two Lives of Errol Flynn, how she took the star aside and told him, "It's so silly working all day and then playing all night and dissipating yourself. Don't you want to live a long life?" Errol was his usually apparently unconcerned self. "I'm only interested in this half," he told her. "I don't care for the future." Yeah. This was the third Errol Flynn movie to gross at least $2 million for Warner Brothers. And the critics said the film was terrific fun and Flynn is splendid. He rarely acted with such infectious enjoyment, and that's what I remember about it as well. And he's obviously having the time of his life in the title role, a part which obviously was close to his real life personality, big-headed, cocky, a bit of a prat. The sort of person who has himself paged all the time at a gym just for the thrill of hearing his name spoken out loud, but with a likable sheen. Yeah, it's
Very good. Yeah.
Great.
I mean, boxing films in general, Rocky apart, boxing films in general, biopics are usually done very well.
Yes.
I think Rocky was a good one, actually, Keith. You might laugh at me for that, but Rocky the first
Rocky
film,
one.
I thought was a good film.
No,
That was a good film.
If you watch Rocky Balboa,
yeah,
I think Rocky Balboa is arguably one of the best boxing films.
Yeah,
probably better
Raging
than
Bull for me.
Yeah.
Raging Bull.
Raging Bull,
yes,
yeah.
yes, yeah.
What
Yeah,
about
I mean-
what about Cinderella Man?
Yeah, what about
Yes,
Cinderella? Man?
film.
What a film.
brilliant,
Yeah, terrific film.
brilliant.
Yeah, great film.
Is
And
it-
what about Jimmy Cagney, City for Conquest, 1940, where he's going for the title and he gets blinded by resin in his eye. The crooks have got in there, of course. Not that there are any crooks in boxing or ever have been. And he's trying to win enough money to send his younger brother, Arthur Kennedy, to music school. Them were the days.
I don't know that film at all. I missed that.
Look it up. It's, I mean, again, it's a typical Warner Brothers, typical Cagney. I mean, Cagney, brilliant in anything, in my opinion. Great actor.
Yeah.
But it's sentimental, but some raw, good boxing scenes for Cagney.
Has anyone come across The Hurricane, a more recent film? The Hurricane.
It sounds familiar.
Well, it's a
It
true.
rings a bell.
Thanks, Keith.
Yeah.
The Hurricane is a 1999 film, but it's the true story of Reuben Carter, whose nickname was the Hurricane.
Yeah.
And Denzel Washington plays him very well. And it's not a happy or it's not a laugh a minute film, and it doesn't have necessarily a happy ending, but it's what happened, and it's very true to life apparently.
Yeah.
So that's worth catching up on if you like boxing films. Can I give you my favourite ring film?
Oh yeah.
Well, it'll surprise you, those of you that
Not Charlie Chaplin, is it?
no, it's about wrestling.
All right.
And anyone seen that film? The Wrestler.
No.
Well, I'm not a fan of American pro wrestling, as you might know, but that film has been described as the raging bull of wrestling. It is absolutely fantastic. It stars Mickey Rourke. He plays a pro wrestler who's finished. He's got to really get out, but he can't. He just can't give up his sport. And it won 23, it won 24. It won over 25 awards in the year it came out. And I can only say to you again, it's not a laugh a minute. There's not many laughs in it, but it's so real for a sport that is not real the physical pounding that they take in order to act out the wrestling. That's what it's about. And I can only give it the highest recommendation. And I'm not a wrestling fan, but forget it's wrestling. It's about a man, and he can't give up his sport. He has to keep going. And
like you in cricket, Chris.
yeah. Without the chair over the head.
Chris.
But that's a good film. That is worth looking up or watching. I can't recommend that film too highly. It's brilliant.
Yes, Ian.
Chris, you prompted Sublime to the Ridiculous. When I was about 16, 17 on holiday in the Isle of Man, a group of us went to watch wrestling for the first time ever.
Right.
And this is post Jackie Pallow, McManus, and all those guys. It's about
Villa Marina.
Pardon?
Was it in the Villa Marina?
That's right. And we got seats right at the top. And you could see, when they stamp on the hands, they're about 6 inches away from the hand, and when they're bending their arms, they're bending it with the joint and against.
Yeah.
And we were creating so much noise, laughing our socks off and all this, because we could see the mimicking and what have you. The crowd getting we got thrown out. If you've ever seen kids, 16, 17-year-olds being chucked out, absolutely falling apart with laughter. They did us a favor, because I don't think we could have brought ourselves together. It was a joke.
We were exactly the same. We were in the balcony there, and you were level with the ringside, just like you were suggesting.
Yeah.
And there was 3 lads, and it was absolutely hilarious. And Masambula, remember Masambula?
Yeah.
He was top bill, but he'd only been in the ring about 3 minutes, and he pulled a muscle in his back, so he was out. But they could hear, the mere fact that you knew that they could hear every word you were saying, and it was excellent entertainment. Our sides ached, just like listening.
It was pure entertainment. Kent Moulton, happy Thursday, Friday, see you Saturday. Well, we used to watch the Wednesday night, my dad and I, and you'd always have a couple of joke ones, Les Kellett. Les Kellett was the best.
Yeah.
But then you'd have a lightweight, and it was so fast. That was proper wrestling. My dad and I used to watch that. Yeah. So you go literally from the sublime to the ridiculous, back to the joke stuff, when you have Mick McManus coming on, you knew the outcome. It was entertainment. It wasn't wrestling. It was brilliant.
From the John Barrack, Sheffield.
Sorry?
I took my 2 sons to the arena. To watch WWE. And just following up what Ian was saying, it was the same. One of the wrestlers was Hacksaw Jim Duggan, who was supposed to be hitting people with a piece of 2x4. And even half a mile away in the arena, you can see him miss, but the guy was going, great fun. 2 lads were jumping up and down like mad.
The only thing I've ever seen anything like it was in do you remember in rugby league they used to have the top 16 playoff? Somebody had won the league, but then you had the top 6.
Yeah.
We were watching St Helens, and they had the 2 Barrow boys, Frank and Tony Barrow. And halfway through the game, I think it was at Halifax, this woman comes on the pitch and belts him with the umbrella. And it was reported in the papers, local papers later, that was his landlady having a go.
Where's me rent?
Where's me rent?
True story.
I mean, I understand that some of those wrestlers have been training Jack Grealish.
Most foul forward in the Premiership. Yeah. Anyway, back to boxing, if you don't mind. You've got the real story of James J. Corbett. Jim Corbett, September 1st, 1866 to February 18th, 1933, was an American professional boxer and a world heavyweight champion, best known as the only man whoever defeated the great John L. Sullivan, hence the man who beat the man concept of the championship boxing lineage. Despite a career spanning only 20 bouts, Corbett faced the best competition his era had to offer, squaring off with a total of 9 fighters who would later be enshrined alongside him in the International Boxing Hall of Fame. Corbett introduced a truly scientific approach to boxing, in which technique triumphed over brute force. I mean, he pioneered the daily boxing training routine and regimen, which, being adopted by other boxers elsewhere, almost intact, survived to modern days. A big money fighter, Corbett was one of the first athletes whose showmanship in and out of the ring was just as good as his boxing abilities. Also being arguably the first sports sex symbol, I thought that was you, Keith, yeah, of the modern era, after the worldwide airing of his championship prize fight versus Bob Fitzsimmons, popularised boxing immensely among the female audience, and did so in an era while prize fighting was illegal in 21 states, and still considered amongst the most infamous crimes against morality. He was the first gloved champion, wasn't he?
Yes.
Oh, previously been knuckle. Yeah. In 1854, Jim's father, Patrick Corbett, emigrated from Ballycusheen, Ballinrobe, County Mayo, Ireland, to the US. James Corbett returned to Ballinrobe in 1894, and among the highlights of his visit were the boxing demonstrations he gave. Dubbed by the media Gentleman Jim Corbett, he graduated from Sacred Heart High School in San Francisco, California, and was rumoured to have a college education. He also pursued a career in acting, performing at a variety of theatres. He has been called the father of modern boxing for his scientific approach and innovations in technique. He said he lost his heavyweight championship to the Cornish British boxer Bob Ruby Robert Fitzsimmons. I've never heard him called Ruby Robert. Have you, Big Paul?
No, I know about Bob Fitzsimmons, but
yeah,
not that name.
Ruby Robert.
Bob Fitzsimmons, yeah.
Yeah, in Carson City, Nevada. Corbett was dominant for most of the fight and knocked Fitzsimmons to the canvas in the 6th round. Fitzsimmons recovered and, though badly cut, rallied from that point on. When Mrs. Fitzsimmons called out, hit him. Oh, I've got my pages. It's typical. I've got my pages. I said when Mrs. Corbett called out, hit him. He did.
Sit down.
Yeah. Jeffrey stalked Corbett around the ring looking for an opening. Corbett danced away from any threat through the 22nd round. Midway through the 23rd round, Corbett leaned back to avoid a blow from Jeffries, bounced off the ropes and was put on the canvas by a short right. He was counted out. Corbett found himself embraced by the public after this gallant effort. The adoration was short-lived as his next fight, a 5-round knockout over Kid McCoy, was widely believed to be a fix. Corbett managed to contest for the heavyweight title one last time when he met Jeffries for a second match in San Francisco in 1903. Now 37, reflexes slowing, Corbett survived a withering body blow in the 2nd round and used every trick he knew to hang on until being knocked out in the 10th. Yeah, it says James J. Corbett. Oh, no, that's an aside. It's not relevant. Yeah, so like the early days of proper gloved boxing, whereas it says that technique counted more than brute force, because in the old days of bare knuckle fighting, they'd fight 60, 70, 80 rounds, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, they weren't 3-minute rounds. It depended if you got knocked out again. But if you got knocked out, it was if you got knocked to the ground, it was a bucket of cold water in the face, and up you got again for another round.
Pity Vinny isn't here, John. Because his dad was
but his dad. His dad was a boxer, wasn't he?
Was it on Sundays that he did some bare knuckle fighting and he'd get a purse and they'd all go and have lunch or something?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
He used to box at grounds, didn't he?
He did, yeah, boxing bulls at fairgrounds and things like that. Yeah, you didn't know who you were coming up against, and it was a dangerous sport, wasn't it? In the boxing bulls.
Anybody done any boxing?
A little.
No.
Wrestling, but not boxing.
I started at school in the gym, and I was sparring with somebody, and somebody did a dive forward roll just over there, and I just turned around, just the bloke hit me. I never ever went back. Far too dangerous.
I did a bit of boxing at school.
Do you?
Yeah.
What was that in woodwork?
Yeah. They had a boxing. We briefly had a boxing club.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to get hit.
Well, exactly. We had wrestling at our school, at both schools, Woodthorpe and King Ted's. We did wrestling, and that was a lot better than boxing. I was quite good at that.
We had
sorry.
We had a school teacher taught us English and Latin, and he said, "Come on, boys, it's getting boring. Let's go and have a boxing session." And the gloves was, do you remember, they were filled with straw. They were rubbish. Anyway, we got boxing. Anyway, one of the scallywags in our class, he was pretty good with his fist. He knocked out one boy and duffed up 2 or 3 others. And in those days, if you got hurt, you were sent to see Miss, one of the 2 school mistresses. There's a queue for me. So she went to see the headmaster, deputy headmaster in the room. I don't know what's going on. World War III's broke down downstairs. So it was stopped.
Yeah. So just a bit of an epilogue, if you don't mind. It says, following his retirement from boxing, Corbett returned to acting, appearing in low-budget films and giving talks about pugilism. He also performed a minstrel show in skits with Cornelius J. O'Brien. Corbett was married to Mary Olive Morris Higgins from 1886 to 1895. After their divorce, he married the actress Jessie Taylor, also known by her stage name Vera. She survived Corbett by more than a quarter of a century, from 1903 until his death. Corbett lived at 221 Corbett Road in a 3-story home in Bayside, the neighbourhood borough of Queens in New York City. In 1924, he had a friendly sparring match with the future champion, Gene Tunney, an admirer of Corbett's scientific style. Tunney was amazed at the ability of Corbett to spar even at the age of about 60, even claiming Corbett had better defence than Benny Leonard. Corbett's brother, Joe Corbett, was a Major League Baseball pitcher. Corbett's great-great-great-nephew, Dan Corbett, was a professional heavyweight boxer from San Antonio, Texas, who won the United States Boxing Federation and International Boxing Organization Intercontinental Heavyweight titles before retiring. James Corbett died of liver cancer on February 18th, 1933, age 66. His body was interred in the Cypress Hill Cemetery in Brooklyn, New York. On its creation, he was elected posthumously to the International Boxing Hall of Fame. And there ends James J. Corbett, Gentleman Jim.
Well, thank you.
Well done, John. Yeah. Interesting.
Just a few questions about boxing films. Edward G. Robinson and Elvis Presley played the same boxer.
Kid Galahad.
Kid Galahad.
It wasn't Edward G. Robinson, it was Wayne Morris.
You what, sorry?
Wayne Morris.
Edward G. Robinson was the manager.
Yeah.
Edward G. Robinson was the manager.
All right, okay, sorry.
Small. Yeah.
Rocky
Good question.
Do you know which film was his story?
Somebody Up There Likes Me.
Somebody Up There Likes Me by Paul Newman.
Yeah, sorry, Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all right. No, it's I just.
What about the one that always? It's not necessarily the best boxing film. Far from it. But it always brings a tear to my leg at the end. We love you, champ. Come back, champ. Don't die, champ.
The champ.
Ricky Schroeder, the champ. John Voight.
Yeah.
At the end. If there's not a tear trickling down your leg at that end, Keith, you're not human.
No, it was the remake.
This is a 30s version of it as well, with Wallace Beery.
Yeah.
Beery, bloody hell.
And it was the young lad who played it. I always get mixed up between who played in with Chaplin in The Kid.
Was it Jackie Oakey?
It's either Jackie Coogan or Jackie Cooper. I always get them mixed up. One of those two.
Jackie Cooper.
Yeah, in the original champ.
I'm sure he's.
We got any Kirk Douglas fans listening?
Oh yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, one of his breakthrough films, if not breakthrough film, was The Champion.
That's right.
And that is a film that I think Sylvester Stallone did definitely study very, very closely, because there are montages of training which are replicated in Rocky 1, Rocky 2, and those sequences are very near to what Kirk Douglas did to become champion. But that's again, not easy watching, but it's an amazing Oscar-winning film. But if anyone finds that and has a look at it, you'll be well entertained.
Thinking of something completely
Johnny, it was Jackie Cooper.
Jackie Cooper, yeah.
Yes, Jonathan.
No, I was just going to say, on a completely different line from boxing or wrestling, you're probably familiar with the Arsenal Stadium mystery, are you?
Yes, I've got a copy of that.
Yeah.
And it's got some wonderful sequences of what was the Arsenal-Brentford game in May 1939, extended sequences of it. I mean, it's supposed to be the Arsenal versus the Trojans. And wonderful shots of the marbled halls and of Arsenal in its heyday. And the story is very tedious and it's very dated now. But visually, it's got some wonderful things in it.
Yeah.
Does anybody remember United featuring in a film in the 1960s? Briefly.
Was it a boxing film?
No, it wasn't. It was playing at Bolton Wanderers ground.
London Park.
They were it was in A Kind of Loving.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Was it?
Briefly, I think it was A Kind of Loving. They went to watch this match, and the film they just happened to have filmed United playing at Bolton. Alan Hodge.
Did they split up after that?
Well, there's that film with
Alan Hodgkins. Sorry, someone's speaking.
Yeah, I was just going to say there was that film that United players, you see Best and so forth, training with these children, and the story is about this children's match or something. And you see shots of Bert Troutman presenting the cup at the end of the game, and cutbacks to him during the game, and that's I can't remember what the film is. It's
a Children's Film Foundation film, Jonathan. I saw it just the other week. Richard, one of our colleagues from Crystal Peaks Library, recorded it from Talking Pictures and sent me a disc. It's not a great film, but for sentimentality and nostalgia, and seeing the Manchester United players of that era, it's a good film.
Yes.
Does anyone remember the opening credit of The Full Monty?
Yeah, go on.
Well, Hodges on that. Hodges in goal. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, on the river.
Yeah. It's the show at the beginning of The Full Monty, the film made in Sheffield.
Yes.
Which is an old 60s city council PR film, and it starts with Hodgie in goal.
Yeah.
Never forget that.
Great goalkeeper.
I may be mixing my films here, but I recall Richard Harris in The Sporting Life.
Yeah.
About rugby league.
Yeah.
And I think it was the same film, maybe a separate one, where he was actually what you now call the Magna in Sheffield, the museum, at the steel furnaces. And that was his daytime job. I think it was the same film. I'm not sure, but
it would be.
If you do a tour of the Magna now, one of the
probably.
Sorry.
Rotherham.
You're probably right, Ian.
Well, if you do a tour there now, there's a couple of the guys still alive who used to work in the 70s. They're fascinating folk, and tell you that the sheer heat, and actually doing that film, they had to do so many retakes because people were passing out with the heat at the furnace.
Yeah. Just going back to the boxing, Cinderella Man, who was that about?
Oh, yeah. James J. Braddock.
James J. Braddock, yeah. That was a great film.
Yeah.
I thought that...
Do you know the film director was of that film? Ron Howard. What a film director.
Oh, Ron Howard has made some tremendous films.
What a film director.
Yeah, terrific.
Considering his roots,
Yeah.
Considering where its roots, it's just astonishing. But I looked that up because I knew we were talking about boxing.
Yeah.
And I'd forgotten that's Ron Howard made that film.
Superb.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's unbelievable.
He's had plenty of happy days since he started.
He certainly has, yeah.
What about the boxing films with Norman Wisdom? Yeah. Yeah. Not to mention George Formby.
Oh, imagine.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Classics. Yeah.
Classic.
I met Norman Wisdom in the Isle of Man.
Did you?
Yeah, there's a cafe at the tip of the island. It's called the Sound because of a stretch of water between the Isle of Man and the Carver Man. And he was there. And there was only me and my wife and the two girls behind the counter and his daughter. And he was playing to the crowd. He picked up this scone, split it up, kept the creamy bit, picked up another scone, split it, kept the creamy bit, and just looked at you, to draw you in. Then he put the two creamy bits together.
He couldn't help performing, could he?
Yeah.
He would couldn't stop himself.
Yeah.
That's a good call, those films.
Yeah. Charlie Chaplin said that Norman Wisdom was his heir, really.
Sorry?
Yeah.
Charlie Chaplin rated Norman Wisdom very highly and said in terms of slapstick and timing, Norman Wisdom was his heir.
Well, I remember first seeing him as a lad, I'd be about 6 or 7, at the Empire in Liverpool.
Yeah.
And my girlfriend, Lita Rosa. Do you remember Lita Rosa?
Oh, God, yeah.
Oh, legs all the way up to the... It doesn't really matter, really.
Alma Cogan's sister.
Oh, was she?
Was she? I didn't know that.
Oh, fancy that.
Oh, I didn't know.
Fancy that.
Yeah.
She's the girl with the giggle.
Going back to the boxing films, I thought Will Smith did a great job in Ali.
He did, you're right.
Yes, it did.
Yeah,
Great film. It's called The Greatest.
Yes, but it was, I mean, to say it was called Ali.
No.
Yeah.
It was just called Ali. I think the greatest was actually Ali himself in it.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Wasn't it more of a documentary?
Yes.
I saw the pantomime.
Ali Baba and the
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Oh, no, you didn't.
Oh, yes,
I did.
Oh, no.
Yes, he did.
I mean, I was just
going to say that this is a sort of first attempt. What do you think of the format of doing a film and an actual sportsman and chatting about it?
Yes. Glad it's not all boxing or wrestling.
Yeah. Well, do you fancy doing the next one, Chris?
I've let anyone have a go, but I've got plenty I could speak about.
I mean, I know when you it's like watching a BBC 4 documentary when you were on.
I'll go for things that people probably don't remember that are sport films.
all right. Okay. We're less than a minute to go, so thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Keith.
Thank you.
Good effort.
Yeah.
Well done, John. Good effort, John.
Everyone, see you next week.
Yeah.
Good.
Let's have a quiz.
Yeah, a quiz.
278.5, 3 overs left.
Thank you very much, Ian.
All right. See you, lads.
All
right, thanks a lot.
Bye. All the